then we hopefully return. So last week, Drew Brees gets hurt, and then Jameis Winston we think is going to start, and then Taysom Hill starts. Now, Taysom Hill had only completed 18 passes. And there was a story this weekend that some of the Saints players didn't really like it. Yeah, and some of the Dolphins players didn't really like it when Ryan Fitzpatrick sat. But Tua playing and Taysom Hill playing is very similar, and I'll get to that in a second. So I've always said this about running quarterbacks. Running quarterbacks work. They just don't last. But the element of surprise works. The Wildcat offense worked in this league for a year. Hiking the ball to a running back worked. Even New England tried it in Belichick. It worked. It didn't last. Lamar Jackson worked. Colin Kaepernick worked. Tim Tebow won 7 straight games. It doesn't last. The league figures it out. If you look at the teams that won yesterday, their running backs ran and their quarterbacks threw. That's what eventually works. But Taysom Hill was effective for a game. Because Sean Payton here isn't making a decision for the future of the Saints. He's making a decision for 3 weeks. Sean Payton wants to win 3 games, and then Drew Brees is back. That's it. And for 3 games, his argument is Taysom Hill, element of the surprise, is a more athletic version of Tebow. He's a much better thrower of the football than Tebow. And we've seen Lamar and Kaepernick and Tebow. It catches people off guard. It takes months, sometimes a year, for people to figure it out. And Atlanta's defense was hot and looked lost. Atlanta didn't quite know what to do yesterday. And the other thing is, when Brian Flores started Tua over Ryan Fitzpatrick, think about that. Why? Well, because Fitzpatrick was winning, he's been in the league longer, and yet they went with Tua. Why? Because Flores said, my defense is really good, and I don't need a ton from my quarterback. What I need is no mistakes, and Fitzpatrick's a gunslinger. And a lot of the players in Miami didn't like it, but Tua came in, and he was initially a better fit for the defense. Okay, and similarly, Taysom Hill. Saints have a really good defense, but Taysom Hill runs, eats the clock, takes some wear and tear off Alvin Kamara, and doesn't have a history of lots of mistakes like Jameis. And so the Dolphins made a decision to go with a kid that had never played in the NFL over Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was hot, to help their defense. And Taysom Hill helps your defense. He's not going to turn it over. He's going to run and eat the clock. He takes some wear and tear off Alvin Kamara. And so long term, there's a reason duct tape in life works. Duct tape buys you time until you get a solution for something, or you can buy something, or something gets fixed. Taysom Hill could very well just be the world's best duct tape. All you want to do is win 3 games. And Sean Payton, for the record, is now 6-0 using midseason backups. He knows what he's doing. Here's Sean Payton after the win.
The offense changed some. We carried a lot of the same protections. Certainly we featured some heavy play actions. We felt like it was going to be a lot of down safety defense. I thought we threw the ball down the field well, and I was proud of the execution. Again, I thought we blocked them up front real well.
Yeah, I mean, as I watched that game, and don't even ask me why I've ever bet Atlanta in my life. I'm now 0 for 400 betting the Falcons. But Atlanta came in playing pretty good defense, and Taysom Hill gave them problems. And never forget this. I go back to this. Tim Tebow won 7 games in a row and couldn't throw the ball. Not close to Taysom Hill. And Taysom's a much better athlete. Is that the element of surprise? The run and shoot worked for a while in the NFL. The Wildcat worked. Atlanta looked lost. And this is duct tape. I mean, Sean Payton just wants to win 3 games. That's all he wants. He wants to win 3 games. Jameis, to me, is the better long-term answer. We're not talking long-term. We're talking 3 weeks, maybe less than a month, and it worked. Here is Joy Taylor with the news.
No.
Turn on the news.
This is the Herdline News.
Colin, I thought about warning you about Atlanta this week, but you never consult with me for your Blazing 5, so I couldn't help you.
And you know what? And it's funny because now people attack me. They're like, "You're stupid for doing that," and I'm like, "Yeah, I am." I don't have any retort. I know better. I quit on the Jets by week 2. I quit in Atlanta week 4, and I forgot all about it. Now I will say this. I have the Buccaneers over the Rams tonight, and I'm 6-1 on Ram games. So there's a team I'm great at and a team I should avoid. Atlanta. It's my bad.
No, you are great with the Rams. So really bad news yesterday for the whole league. Joe Burrow's incredible rookie season is over. He was carted off the field in the third quarter after suffering a brutal leg injury. He reportedly tore his left ACL and will miss the rest of the season. He tweeted after the game, "Thanks for all the love. Can't get rid of me that easy. See you next year." He was sacked 32 times and hit 77 times this season. Both are third most in the league behind Carson Wentz and Russell Wilson. The Bengals did make several offensive line moves this offseason, but obviously it wasn't enough. I mean, those numbers speak for themselves. They have the 26th highest grade in pass blocking and 12th in run blocking this season, according to Pro Football Focus. I mean, this is devastating. This is what we were talking about before the season started, what we were afraid of with Joe Burrow having an Andrew Luck type of situation and getting hit as many times as he was. I mean, he was running around constantly and getting hit constantly. No one can deal with that. And to keep in mind as well, you know, he is still, while he is a big man and he is a bit older than some rookie quarterbacks coming into the league, this is his first NFL season getting hit by NFL players. That's a big difference from college. And at that rate, this is almost felt, I don't want to say inevitable, but it's like this is what we were afraid of all season long.
Yeah, and it's very Andrew Luck, where the team basically had a bad offensive line and no running game. And so, you know, they're throwing 37, 38, 39 times a game. The Bengals not only have to build an offensive line, but they really have to draft some running backs because I think Kansas City is kind of showing you the way. When you get that great quarterback, don't ask him to throw 37 times. Ask him to throw 28 to 35, be special 6 or 7 times. This feels so Andrew Luck to me that it was not just that Andrew Luck had a bad offensive line, but they had no running game. So he put himself up there 42, 43 times a game throwing, and it's just simply too much.
Yeah, well, we're all obviously wishing him a quick and speedy recovery. He had a great season and was completely impressive. Obviously the quarterback of the future there, but they've got to put some pieces around him. So Tua struggled against the Broncos Sunday, completing only 11 of 20 passes for 83 yards and a touchdown. Brian Flores decided to bench him in the fourth quarter when Miami was down by 10. It was a little confusion there because he did get hit on the play before they took him out. So it was like, is he hurt or are they benching him? But he did clarify that he was benched for play. The Dolphins could not pull off the comeback with Ryan Fitzpatrick, though they lost to Denver 2013. He threw an interception to Justin Simmons, which essentially sealed the game. Flores said after the game he was taken out because of his performance, but he will be the starter going forward. They are at the New York Jets next week, so that's a good game for him to get a bounce back in. He was also sacked 6 times. He'd only been sacked 4 times in his first 3 starts combined. So.
Yes. Well, you know, Joy, it wasn't like even John Elway and Peyton Manning had like obstacles. He wasn't going to get a defensive touchdown and a special teams touchdown every week. There was going to be a game where it was cold. He was on the road, fell behind and got hit a bunch. And so I had no problem with what Flores was saying. Like, listen, in the moment, we want to win this football game, but I don't listen. This is called a journey, right? Burrow got hurt, part of the journey. Justin Herbert had big games and lost all of them, part of the journey. This was the first time Tua fell behind, big pass rush, didn't have any answers, high altitude, first game in cold weather perhaps ever. It happens. Now Flores benching him didn't bother me at all.
No, I had no issue with it at all, especially because the Dolphins are in contention. If they weren't in contention for the division and a playoff spot, then I would say, you know what,
right.
Leave him out there. You know, he's got to push through these moments. But they absolutely can make it to the playoffs this year, and with Tua as their quarterback. So this is a moment where, you know, he's been sacked 6 times. It can only get worse from here at this point. Of course, put Fitzpatrick in there and try and at least win the game, and then we'll deal with it later. But I had no issue with that. Plus, also, I think Tua has the mental fortitude and attitude to be able to recover emotionally from being taken out of the game.
Yeah, he does.
Certain guys, you have to, you know, be careful with their personality, how they're going to react to that. I don't think Tua is one of those guys.
He's not a fragile sort. That's not who he is.
No. So the Ravens did a good job containing Derrick Henry through the first 3 quarters yesterday, holding him to only 44 yards, but he still came up big when it mattered. He finished with 33 rushing yards and scored the game-winning touchdown in overtime to give the Titans the 30-24 victory. He got 28 carries in the win, which were the most he's had in a game since week 1. We were just talking about this last week, Colin, that when he doesn't get a high amount of carries, they lose.
Right.
Like, how he goes is the way that the Titans are going to go. It was also his 6th 100-yard rushing game this season and put him over 1,000 yards for the third consecutive year.
It's funny. I'm watching that game, and I'm thinking, the teams that passed on him because he went in the second round, like, what was it that they saw they didn't like? You're like, okay, he's big as a refrigerator, but runs like a running back, and he's very productive, and he doesn't fumble, and he was great in high school, college, and pro football. I mean, there's just not much. Maybe he's not a great pass receiver, but every time I watch him, you know, you fall into the, isn't everybody in the league looking for a Derrick Henry, a 250-pound running back that can pull away from secondary players? Like, that's what everybody in the league, Pete Carroll would die for that this morning. But everybody passed on him at least once, and good for the Titans. They deserve it.
They do, and you know what? Sometimes you outthink the room. Maybe they felt like he had